Hey Queens, great night, great night, great night. Y'all, I'm excited to be here. I know we missed last week. Last week I did not plan properly. And so because of my lack of proper planning, I had to cancel everything that I had scheduled. Not so much planning, but I left some things home. So, for many of you that don't know, I traveled last week, and so I am currently in another country. And yeah, I left some things that I needed for, my podcast as well as my Bible study. And so, because of that, and then, I was spending time with family. And so, getting caught up in the joy of everything that was happening, I was like, you know what, let me just do myself some justice and cancel this because I would not have been prepared, and I like coming to you guys prepared. All right, so with that said, welcome back, y'all. Welcome back to A Major Insight, a holistic approach to wellness. I am your host, Ashley Major, and I am a faith-based holistic life and wellness coach. Y'all, I have some exciting news for y'all. Okay. So, as we get into tonight's topic, which is all about obedience and trusting God, we're going to tap into spirituality today. I know I tend to, intertwine spirituality with a lot of my topics, but tonight we're going to focus specifically on spirituality and really just trusting God's plan for our lives, right? And I'm going to share a few things that God has been working on me with. So we'll get into that. But on top of being your faith based holistic life and wellness coach, I am your guide to healing, transformation, and living a life that is whole and on purpose. Okay. So, with that said, I want us to explore some scripture tonight. And I hope you guys take the opportunity after this to go back and actually read through the scripture and see what God may be revealing to you, okay? Because this passage is truly teaching us to, one, trust God even when it doesn't make sense, but also to be obedient to when He is directing us. Now, before we jump into that, I want to shout out all the ladies that are in my 365 days on purpose challenge. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Shout out to y'all. We are on day 93, y'all. We finished the first quarter of the year. For those of you that are just joining or would like to join, you are welcome, right? Day one starts for you. Day one can start at any point. It doesn't have to be January 1st. So you can start today and start your 365 days on purpose. Okay. And that group is on Facebook. Just type in 365 days on purpose and it will pop up. Okay. I'm sure it'll be the first group that pops up. But you are invited, y'all, because this group is all about intentionality. It is about challenging yourself to live on purpose, to live in alignment with God's purpose for our lives, and to live in alignment with the desires that we have, the desires of our hearts, and making sure that we are fostering the habits of intentionality, discipline, consistency, right? And so if you are ready to make that commitment to yourself, to God, to just go after your goals, to your future self, then you are welcome to join us, okay? The group again is 365 days on purpose, and it is on Facebook. Okay. Now let's dive into our topic. So the first thing I want to address is that a lot of times we struggle to obey, right? We struggle to obey. And many of you may have a connection with God, many of you may not. But wherever you stand, if you believe in a higher power, my higher power is God all day, every day, right? But if you believe in a higher power, then you know that there's a nudging, there's a feeling where you know you should be doing something, right? And oftentimes God speaks to many of us, right? Some of us that have not fully accepted him, but we know deep down in ourselves that he is the one true living God. He nudges us, right? We may not have the direct connection, but we know deep down within us that there is a calling, that there's something, there's a tugging, there's a pulling, right? And so a lot of times we struggle with walking in alignment, we struggle with obedience. Now, this came up. The reason this came up is because recently, this topic I'm talking about, the reason this topic came up is because recently the Holy Spirit had been working on me, y'all. And y'all know I've been a coach. I'm a coach. I've been a coach for 5 years, going on 5 years this November. And I've been coaching long before that, but 5 years November is when I became certified, right? I've been mentoring long before that. This has just been a calling on my life. And I went through some things recently, and I shared it on a previous podcast episode of why I left my husband. And I knew that God has been calling me to really help women transform their lives, help you heal, help you, get over the toxic cycles and the traumas in your life, and really walk in your purpose, to find peace, to find wholeness, to find stillness, to really help you navigate that journey. But more specifically, he has been calling me to help women that are divorced or separated, and there's no going back. There's no turning back. Like, that this is the end of the end of the end of this relationship, and you're just biding your time until, procedures are final. And so, yeah. So I knew that this is where he was calling me to help. Right. And y'all, I tell you, nowhere to lie, I have been, they say delayed obedience is still disobedience. Yeah, I've been disobedient. And part of that is because, and I'm just going to lay it out, part of that is because, like, I feared scrutiny. I feared judgment, not so much from the public, but more so from family members and really not my family members. I feared judgment from his family members. And so one of the questions came up is like, well, who do you fear more? Do you fear man or do you fear God? Right? And, I fear God, because if God is calling me to this, then who is man to bring fear to me and to judge me? Like, this is for a purpose, and this is for a higher calling, because this isn't about me. This is not about me. This is about serving. This is about empowering. This is about helping others through their trials, to uplift, to encourage, to help them elevate, to help you elevate, right? And so that was the first thing I had to wrap my mind around. And then I had a call with my coach, because yes, coaches help coaches too. And I had a call with my coach, and he was like, well, Ash, I get the spiritual aspect of it, but let's think about the people that you are called to help. They are also struggling with this as well. And I was like, yeah. So not only am I in a position to help women go through this transformation and this healing process, but I can relate, because I too am going through the same process. Now, I may be well ahead in certain areas, but it's a journey for all of us. And healing is not linear. Let me just say that. And I think I've said this time and time again. Healing is not linear. A lot of times we feel like, well, if we do one or two things, then the healing should be complete. No, it's an ongoing journey. It is an ongoing journey, but having the awareness, knowing the triggers, knowing the things that may, hinder you, and recognizing when new things come up, being able to be so aware of yourself that you recognize when things come up and you address them immediately. Right. And so let's get back to our topic. But I wanted to just preference this discussion today with where this is all coming from, and understanding that I too am on the journey that you're going on. So you're on, right? So if you are in a space where you are battling with your purpose. You're battling with where God is directing you, and you know that you know that you know that you know that this is what you're supposed to be doing, but there is some fear, there's some doubt, there's some overwhelm that's creeping in, then I know how you feel, but there's a plan and there's a method to God's madness. Okay. There's things that we cannot see that he sees, and he knows, well, you're going to have to go through a little bit of pain. You're going to have to go through a little bit of scrutiny to get to where I'm sending you, but it is all for a purpose. And we'll see that here in the story of Gideon. And so Gideon, he was an outcast. He was what they call, his tribe was the least of them all, right? He was not recognized as somebody of worth. And so God chose Gideon. God chose Gideon to fight the Midianites. If we go to Judges 6, to go against the army of the Midianites, right? And so not only did he use Gideon to defeat the Midianites, but he did it in a way that seemed impossible if it was just Gideon. And so a lot of times God puts us in situations that he wants his glory to be seen, right? He puts us in situations where we can't rely on our own strength. We only could rely on his strength within us. And so, listen, I'm getting ahead of my notes, but let me go back to it. Let me let me go back to it. Okay, so when we're being obedient, it's not always easy, right? And so Gideon, he had fear because he's like, God, me? First of all, why are you choosing me? Secondly, who am I to be worthy of this? And thirdly, how can I do this? Like, I'm just a mere man. It's just me. And so he's, he was uncertain, right? He was uncertain. And a lot of times we're in spaces where we're uncertain whether this is the calling that we have, whether this is the part of our purpose. Like we're operating in uncertainty because it seems far-fetched. But I'm here to tell you today that you are worthy. You are worthy of anything that God has called you to. You are worthy of it all. And if you are a child of God, if you are a child of God, if you have accepted Christ as your Lord and Savior, then just know that you have the power within you to do anything, to do all things, because with God, all things are possible, right? And so this task, it pushed Gideon past his comfort zone. Many of us, we don't like to get out of our comfort zone. Many of us are in situations where we feel, well, if I do this, then, I don't know, like we don't want to get out of our comfort zone. And I'm telling you, it is time to get out of your comfort zone. If you want to elevate, right? Let's even take God out of the equation. Now, God is always in the equation. Let me just put that right there, right? But let's go back to the practical realm, right? If you want to achieve anything, everything that you desire is outside of your comfort zone. It's outside of your comfort zone. You have to get uncomfortable, and you have to be comfortable getting uncomfortable. That's the reality of it. And so we see here that God made Gideon uncomfortable. And so most times we want clarity before we take action. Most times we want to know every detail before we take action. But with God, he requires faith before actions. He requires faith. So if you have faith, then you know with God, all things are possible. The impossible is now possible. All right. And so we see that here with Gideon. When God called him to deliver Israel from the Midianites, he was hiding. He was hiding. He was trying to stay under the enemy's radar, right? How many of you, God has called you to step up? He's called you to stop shrinking, to stop hiding, to stop dimming your light. You want to stay behind the scenes, but he's calling you to get in front. He's calling you to lead the way, but you rather stay a follower because you don't want to be seen. You don't want nobody to recognize you. You don't want to be in the limelight, and not so much the limelight as popularity, but you just don't want to be you don't want to be the face. You don't want your strengths. You don't want your abilities to shine because you are so comfortable just hiding behind everyone and everything. And some of it might be shame, some of it might be guilt, some of it might be feeling not worthy, right? Some of it might be based on, the things that people have told you over the years, and now you're living in that because you've accepted that, but that is not who God has called you to be. That is not who God has called you to be. God called Gideon to be a mighty warrior. He's called you to be mighty. To be mighty. See, when Gideon questioned God, he doubted himself. Not only did he doubted himself, he asked God for signs, and when God gave him the signs, he still doubted. How many of you will be out here asking God for signs? God, show me. If you do this, I can do this. I noticed you speaking. You get the sign, and then I need another sign, God, because I ain't sure. You still doubting. You're still uncertain. When God has showed you time and time again, he's given you many opportunities to step up. He's given you many opportunities. One thing that I learned about God, he only can give you so much. When that rope comes to an end, he moving on to the next. Don't let your rope come to an end. It is time to step up, especially when you know within yourself that it is him, it is time, this is your opportunity. Stop waiting. Stop waiting, y'all. So I love here in this story that God didn't rebuke Gideon's doubt. See, God is so gracious. He's so patient with us. Like, he knows that sometimes, like, there's going to be questions. He knows that, and he does not rebuke our doubt. He wants us to ask questions because he's always going to reassure us that he is in the midst. But like I said, don't take that for granted, y'all. Don't mismanage that. Get what you need and take action. Get what you need and take action, because when God equips us, when God calls us, he equips us. One of my favorite sayings is, wherever God guides, he provides. Wherever he is telling you to go, he's going to make sure that you have everything that you need. So trust that. So the second part of this is, let's go to Judges 7, right? Where we see that the plan that God has. So now that we know that we need to be obedient, we need to start trusting. We see the plan that God has is like, okay, this is wild, yo. Like, God, really? Is this what you really have for me to do? Like, yeah. But we have to trust that he knows what he's doing. A lot of times we get in situations where we just don't know how. But then when it's done and we look back and we're like, boy, only God gotta get me through that. Because how did I even make it through this? How did all of those things come together? Like, just how? And it is in the trusting. It is in the trusting. See, God gave Gideon the victory. He gave him the strategy to obtain victory. If we read where God asked Gideon to shrink his men, he had over 3,000 men, and God asked Gideon to shrink the men to just 300. Like, God, listen, I have all these men here. Why are you telling me to have less? And he shrinked that to 300, splitting them into 3 groups of 100. and he was able to overpower the Midianites. And in that victory, we look at that and we see that it did not make sense. It did not, like, how? This made no sense. But when God told him that, he allowed him to use less than 1% of what he started with, because he wanted to show that the victory belonged to God. This is what God wanted. He wanted them to know that this was his doing. He was in the midst. This was not man. This was not the strength of man. Because see, what happens is a lot of times we take credit for the things that God does. And so he puts us in situations where we have no other choice to see that it is him. I want you to reflect on your life. And y'all, this ain't a Bible study lesson. This is a life lesson, right? It's both. But I want you to understand that if you look back on your life, there are numerous occasions where you have been in situations and you know it only could have been the grace of God. It only could have been the grace of God. See, sometimes he will strip away the things that we need, the people, the resources, the security, so that we can learn to fully depend on him. I don't know where you are in your journey today. I don't know if you are a believer. I don't know if you are not, if you're seesawing, if you're lukewarm, if you're thinking about it, if you don't even care to know about it, but you're watching this message is for you. This message is for you. And I know the title says obedience and trusting God, but this message, this is for you. This is for you, because God is always in the midst. God is always working things out for our good. And we have to trust that his plan is greater than we can ever imagine, that his plan is going to work out. And sometimes he brings us to our knees. I know when I was in my situation a few years back, I knew it was only God that got me out of that. I knew. I got on my hands and knees, y'all. I was to a place where I was at my lowest. He stripped away everything. He stripped away my income. He stripped away my friends. Like, he put me in a place where I was away from everyone. When I said my friends, he stripped them away, but he isolated me. And he put me in a place where the only thing I could do was call on him. The only thing I could do was pray. And when I was redeemed, when I was able to get out of that, I knew it was only through his grace. Only through his grace. And so, what are some situations that you're taking credit for when you know it was all God? What are some situations in your life that you trusted God's plan, but you took the credit for? See, we have to remember to give God his credit. Give him his credit. Y'all, give him his glory. Because, anyways, I'm getting emotional. I am getting emotional. Because y'all, when I tell y'all God is so good, he is so good. And we have to be obedient in this season. This is the year of abundance. This is the year of overflow. This is the year of restoration. And so we have to make sure that we are trusting in the plan that God has for our lives, and that we are being obedient to what he is directing us to do. Y'all, I know some greatness is going to come. Like, I have finally accepted and I've added it to my title, y'all. So not only am I a faith-based holistic life and wellness coach, but I am also a divorce healing coach. And so this is, this is something that I am in the process of becoming certified with. So I started my getting my certification in this and just studying up and reading on, making sure that I'm not only just relying on my own personal experience, but I'm also able to help you guys navigate. So for the last few months, and I want to say it's almost been a year, I've been studying on trauma healing, right? And so this is just another level, right? And this is more specific to women that are separated, that are divorced. And I want to focus on helping women that have made the decision. Like, if you're seesawing, whether you want to stay or whether you want to go, I encourage you guys to seek a therapist, find someone that can help you navigate that journey. But I want to help women that have already made the decision and wants to start their healing process, that wants to start anew, wants to start afresh, and want to understand and learn how to navigate this new part of their lives, this new season of their life, because it wasn't easy. And I can tell you right now, for me, it's been about 2 years, and it's not been the easiest. I pretty much started my life completely over. Like, I walked away with just the clothes on my back, and my clothes, just my clothes, and like that's it. I had to find somewhere to live again. I was in limbo for a while. Like, there's been a lot on this journey. And now that, I have stability, now that things are much better. I'm in a better financial situation. I'm in a better living situation. Life is looking good. Things are picking up. I'm feeling good. I like my mindset, my health, everything. And everything is good, right? And I know that it's going to get great because I feel it. Mentally, spiritually, I'm at peace. Emotionally, I'm at peace. And I have had so many people ask me if I'm dating. No, I am taking this time to enjoy my singleness. I'm taking this time to embrace my journey with God and draw closer to Him. And that's one of the things that I want to help women understand, that this new journey, this is a time for you to get to know yourself again. This is a time for you to truly embrace who you are at your core. Get to know yourself again, because sometimes being in relationships, especially if it's toxic, it strips away from you, it strips away from who you are. And so this is the time to reconnect, get to know yourself, fall in love with the things you once loved and enjoyed, right? Take that time to try new hobbies, do things that you've always wanted to do. But don't run away from your situation, and don't jump into another one before you've taken the time to truly heal and process everything, right? So this is where I'm at. This is where I want to, help women. And I encourage you guys, if you are on a journey of trusting God, if God has been directing you to do something, be obedient. Be obedient. Be obedient, because it will be more rewarding than you can ever imagine. Or that if you are willing to obey, then you need to also be willing to trust. Okay. And so I want you, as always, I'm going to give you some things to think about, right? But what is God asking you to trust Him with right now? Think about that. What is He asking you to trust Him with right now? Is it may be walking away from something that no longer serves you. It may be taking a leap of faith in a new season, even though you don't have all the details. It may be changing career paths. It may be, starting. It could be anything. But I want you guys to surrender control and allow God to help you on this journey. Whether it's healing, whether it's elevation, whether it's starting anew, whatever it is, allow Him to help you. I know how difficult it is. I know firsthand how difficult it is to surrender to God. When it feels like you don't know what's going on, when it gets overwhelming. But just like Gideon, He went from fearful to fearless, y'all. And you too can do that, walking boldly in God's purpose when you trust his plan. All right. I want to leave you with a scripture, and it's Isaiah 41:10. And it says, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." You are not alone, sis. And God is guiding you every step of the way. Trust that. All right. So again, I want to invite you guys to 365 Days on Purpose. Join me. And I'm also starting a healing challenge May 1st. So it's got to be a 31-day healing challenge. Definitely, 30 days. Last day is celebration day. But healing, it's going to be a healing challenge May 1st. I will drop the details so you guys can register for that. But if you are on a journey of healing, if you are on a journey of self-discovery, if you are on a journey of elevation and starting anew and you need to let go of some things, be sure to register for that. Okay, so look out for the details on that. That's it, y'all. That is it. Thank y'all for joining me. See you guys next week. I hope you guys got value from this. This was something that I had to share because I think it's a lesson for everyone. The story of Gideon is so profound. So I encourage you guys to go and read Judges 6 and 7. You may get something from this completely different than what I shared, something that may be in alignment with what I shared, but whatever you need, when you read, ask God to help you understand and ask him to help you to reveal what it is that he wants to say to you in this season right now, where he wants to guide you. If you are in a space where you know he is tugging and he is pulling on you, it is time to listen. It is time to listen. It is time to be obedient, and it's time to take action. All right. See y'all, queens. Have a great weekend. And I will see you guys here next week, same time. See ya.